Hello everyone. I welcome you to the lecture series on human values and professional ethics. And the topic that I'm going to cover today is vision for holistic technologies, production systems, and management models. We all have been talking about the fact that there should be an alternative system of existence which should be holistic. So in this chapter, I'm going to talk about the vision for that system, and I'm going to talk about the various parts of that system. As I've stated in the title of the chapter, this alternative system of existence comprises technologies, production system, and management model. So what exactly is the vision for it? Now, the vision for such holistic alternative of existence relies on three basic things: that any kind of alternative system involving technologies, production systems, and management models should be catering to the needs and lifestyles of people, should be people friendly, and should be eco friendly. These are the three things. And I repeat again, holistic model of existence should cater to the needs of the people. It should be people friendly. It should be eco friendly. And these three things will be discussed under three different headings of technologies, production systems, and management models. But the important question here is that how exactly can we develop this vision? And the answer is same as it was in the previous chapter or in some other things, wherein we said that we need to work hard to improve our understanding of things. If our understanding is good, then only we can realize whether a particular technology caters to a particular lifestyle or not. In the absence of that understanding, we blindly go on producing technology. Same thing is applicable for production system and management model. So let's discuss these things one by one. So what is the criteria for technology? I'll be discussing 4 points. We should develop such technology which should cater to real human needs. Today the problem is that we are developing technology mindlessly. We do not think whether that technology caters to a real human need or not. Let's take the example of nuclear energy. Was it actually a real human need? If for peaceful purposes, if we talk about peaceful purposes, yes, it was a real human need. But this usage in the negative way, was it a need? Does the world actually require a nuclear stockpile right now? We don't need that. So this technology has been developed, or this technology was developed for the good, but it has not been used in the proper way. So the carry home message is that we should not only develop the technology which can cater to the particular human need, but we should think in terms of creating different checks and balances through which that technology should not be misused. The second point, the technology should be compatible with natural systems and cycles. Whatever we produce, whatever technology we develop, it should be consistent with the natural cycle. It should not create a problem in nature. Unfortunately, today, majority of the technological advancement that we have had has been at the cost of nature. The third thing, it should facilitate effective utilization of human body, animals, plants, and materials. Again, unfortunately, today we have started developing technology so that our physical labor should reduce quite a lot. All the lifestyle diseases that we are facing today, or the lifestyle diseases that we are having today, they are there because we have developed technological systems which reduce human labor. We exploit animals mercilessly, we exploit plant life mercilessly, and of course, in a very brainless manner, we are exploiting the natural resources also. The fourth point, the technology that is developed should be safe, user-friendly, and conducive to health of workers. Today, when we talk about the modern day industry, we have n number of examples wherein the workers working in the factories, they are prone to a lot of risks. Why? Because they're exposed to a particular radiation, or they're exposed to a particular chemical. The technological system is not very safe for them. We need to work to develop technological systems which are safe for the worker, for the person using the technology, so that a lot of people should not be affected badly by this development of the technology. Next up, production system. The important questions to be tackled in a production system, they are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Now, what is the meaning of what to produce? What kind of crop, if we take the example of agricultural system, what kind of crop do we have to produce? Should we produce crops according to the region, the natural climate, or should we produce crops keeping in mind the profit motive? Should we grow wheat, or should we opt for something like opium? Choice is ours. So we need to be very clear about it. How exactly to produce this crop now? Should we go in for excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, or should we go for natural farming? According to one of the studies, if we opt for natural farming, if not higher yield, we get as good a yield as we get by using those excessive fertilizers and pesticides. Again, choice is ours. And for whom we need to produce, whether we need to produce food or goods or commodities for local consumption, or do we need to mass produce things so that big industrialists can get hold of things and then sell those things away at a lot of profit? We need to be clear about these things. And then again, 4 further points. We should opt for production systems which should ensure optimal utilization of local resources and expertise. Whatever production system we have should use local resources. If local resources are not used, resources will have to be brought from faraway places, cost of production will increase. So this has to be avoided. Economic viability and sustainability should be kept in mind. At times we end up producing stuff which are not economically viable. We spend a lot of money in setting up of the project in an area where raw material is not there. So as I said earlier on, we bring raw material from far off places. We bring maybe coal from another region of the country. So total cost increases quite a lot, and then such a product cannot be produced for a long period of time. Priority for local consumption, as I said earlier on, whatever we produce, we should keep in mind that it should have a local demand. Today we are not doing it. And 4th point, matching the pattern of production with availability in the local environment and pattern of consumption. Raw material, again, it's almost the same point. Raw material should be locally available. The important thing here, am I talking about encouraging small scale industry? When I say that goods should be produced for local consumption, yes, I'm talking about it. Unfortunately, in the Indian model of economy, the Indian model, as I love to call it, gradually we have moved towards industrialization. We have believed that it is big industry which is the solution to all the problems of India. But unfortunately, again, this is not the case. With the number of people that are there in India, we need to develop small-scale industry which can produce goods locally and which can employ local people. What is the implication of it? The implication of it is that large number of people will get employment, unskilled labor force of India will get employment, and much more importantly, we'll have specific areas having expertise in production of local goods. And trust me, if marketed properly, we can earn foreign exchange also by stating or by claiming that a particular product produced in a particular village of India stands for the actual culture of that area. We can utilize the rich cultural heritage of India to earn foreign bucks also. Now let us talk about management models and what are the things that should be there to create holistic management models which can ensure a good alternative to the existing system. The first important thing is that the management model should ensure that every unit should work like a well-knit family. Every worker should have a familial feeling for the other worker. As of now, this is not the case. Why? Because every industry, every organization works on the principle of profit maximization. And the same principle is imbibed in by all the workers. So personal growth, personal gain is more important, even if it is at the cost of the fellow worker. A holistic management model will ensure, or it will educate all the workers, that personal growth is important, but not at the cost of a colleague. Next up, management model should ensure cooperation between all the workers, and it should ensure that all the workers remain motivated. The problem with the Indian system today is that majority of the people, when they start working, they're very motivated. For a couple of years, initial couple of years, they remain motivated, they give their best, but eventually they start becoming, or they become a part of the system. A system which somehow tells them that it is perfectly all right not to give their best. This is one of the reasons why in corporate sector in India today, there is a boom in the industry of motivational speakers. Corporate houses actually invite motivational speakers to come to them and motivate their employees. Now, let us be honest enough. If at all, I think about my responsibility in the society or in the company, do I actually need a motivational speaker to come to me and tell me that I have to give my best? We are not honest, and management models should ensure that people should give importance to this one fact, that they need to be honest about whatever they do so that they should remain motivated to give their best. The third thing, management models should ensure correct appraisal of human labor. This is one thing which is certainly not happening in the Indian system. In the Indian system, if someone gives his or her best, chances are that his labor will not be assessed properly, and certainly it will not be rewarded properly. Now let's take up a situation or an example. If I am the employer and you are the employee, you give your best, and when the time comes to assess your labor, when the time comes to reward you for your labor, I do not assess you properly, or I give you less than what is due. What will be the outcome of it? The outcome of it will be that you'll be totally dissatisfied, you'll be dejected, and this is what is actually halting the Indian industries, Indian institutions from progressing. It is a failure at the level of management models. Why? Because they cannot ensure that people should get their due. The fourth important point, management models should ensure good employer and employee relationship, and they should ensure customer satisfaction. Now, there are two parts to it. The first part is employer-employee relationship. In majority of the cases today, employer-employee relationships are not good. When an employer has to interact with an employee, he takes the entire situation, the employee, for granted and believes that employee will always obey him. If there is a need at the end of the employee, normally the employer will only provide that superficial sympathy, and then he'll not stand by the employee. And the same thing goes when the employer is in need. Since the relationship is totally professional, sans any kind of humane touch, people provide lip sympathy and move forward. They do not work on having good relationships with each other. Good management model, a good holistic or humane management models will ensure, and I repeat, they'll ensure that the relationship between the employer and employee, it is good. Next up, the second part of this point, a management model will be holistic when it ensures customer satisfaction. Today, majority of the management will say that customer is their topmost priority. But why is the customer topmost priority? Do they actually want to serve the customer in terms of his need, or do they actually want a customer so that he can buy the product? I'll stretch this thing a bit more. Today, people are being taught in management courses how to sell product. They are being taught to tell people to overlook their need, and they are being taught to create desire. So a person A might not need a particular stuff, but if I produce that product, I'll try to create a desire in person A so that he can buy my product. Now, till the time people keep on running after desires, they cannot be satisfied. And the existing management model is not talking about satisfied customers. Existing model of management is talking about customers who are always running after desires. And such an aim cannot be realized. Holistic management models can be there when they actually start thinking in terms of production of stuff, managing the entire thing in terms of human beings and their needs. Now we'll shift on to the other 2 points. We'll talk about the existing situation as of now, or how are things being run in our society, be it technology, production systems, or management models. Our entire civilization is moving forward, friends, today on one particular thing, and that is non-renewable energy sources. We are pushing forward our civilization by exploiting non-renewable energy sources mercilessly. Of late, yes, there has been talk about using renewable sources of energy quite a lot, but still, the overall emphasis is on non-renewable energy sources. Now, let us have a reality check so that we should understand where we stand. Global average temperatures, friends, it has increased by more than 1 degree Celsius from pre-industrial era age. CO2 concentration in the atmosphere is well over 400 ppm, the highest it has been in human civilization. Globally, we emit over 36 billion tons of CO2 annually, and this is 2018 data. Now, what is the implication of it? The implication of it, we all know, there will be global warming. There is global warming. Now, what will happen if there's global warming? There have been flash floods in Rajasthan. We have seen snowfall in Arab countries. We have seen droughts in central India. And I've not started talking about the rising seawater levels and the number of people who will be displaced because of it. The warning signals are there already, and we actually need to take a note of all these warning signals. Otherwise, it will become very tough for us. And I repeat, it will become very tough for us to keep on moving on the path that we have selected, that we have opted for ourselves. Next up, it is the way we produce things. If we have a close look at the nature, we'll understand, or we'll realize that all the processes in nature, they are cyclical. You talk about water cycle, you talk about growth of plants. Every unit is dependent upon the other unit, and it enriches the other unit. What happens when human beings intervene? When we intervene, we break that cyclical process. Let us talk about production of plastics. We intervened in the process. We invented something that is plastics. Is it a cyclical process? It is not a cyclical process. Why? Because plastics do not degenerate that easily. Of late, we have talked about banning plastics. Yes, it has an economic aspect to it. Why? Because we have banned only single-use plastic bags. We have not asked, the governments have not asked MNCs to actually stop using plastics. So they are still using their plastic bags. They are still using that plastic to put their stuff in it. And of course, they're selling that stuff to us at exorbitant prices. I leave this part on one side for a bit. We need to understand this thing, that just by intervening and inventing something like plastics, we have broken that natural cycle. We have broken that cyclical process. Need of the hour is to develop technologies, friends, which will be cyclical. Now, if you ask me that what is the alternative, straight away I cannot provide you the alternative. We need to invest a lot in R&D so that we should come up with solutions which are actually correct and which should actually deliver. If at all we do not come up with solutions, if at all we do not come up with holistic models which can actually deliver, then 40, 50, maybe 100 years from now, people will again be discussing the same old things. But instead of our forefathers, they'll be talking about us, and they'll be discussing what all wrong we did. So kindly remember this point. I want to emphasize it again, that we need to invest in R&D a lot, so that we can come up with holistic models of existence which should offer an alternative to the existing model. The question that should be there in your mind right now is that I've talked about holistic models of technology, production systems, and management models. But are all these things practical? Answer is yes, they are practical. They are certainly practical at the village level, and I want all of you to note down title of one book. The title is Hind Swarajya, written by Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi always felt that India resided in its villages, and he gave his vision of self-sufficient villages in this book. Now, the good thing about this approach is that villages actually become self-sufficient. They do not have to rely on outside support, outside help, and they actually become centers wherein small-scale industry can thrive. Can I give you an example of it? Yes, I can. In Maharashtra, there is the self-sufficient village, Hevde Bazaar. The situation, friends, in this village was so bad in 1980s that mass migration had begun. The reason for it was that drug abuse was rampant, illiteracy was there was no water, in short, lots of problems. And then there was the change. What was the change? An educated leader or educated head of the village panchayat was elected, and he started bringing about the change. He started implementing the government policies. The government initiatives were explained to people of the village, and people of the village, they actually started doing the right things. What kind of right things? They started a school. They started community farming. They decided to produce crops that were suitable to the climatic type and the soil type. They decided that all the disputes in the village will be resolved in the village panchayat, and the decision will be accepted by everyone. So the number of confrontations, it came down quite a bit. The yield increased. Because of education, over time, things like drug abuse came down. And in 2000s, the village had well recovered from its dark days. Per capita income had increased, and a lot of people who had migrated to cities had come back to the village to live their lives in a very harmonious way. So the basic thing here is that yes, such models are practical at the village level, but are they practical at the metropolitan level? I'm not saying that now we should start talking about self-sufficient cities. Even Gandhi never talked about it. At the level of metropolitan cities, big cities where life is complex, we can keep in mind these three things that we have discussed so far. Production systems, management models, and technology. And we should keep in mind that all these three systems should be people-friendly, environment-friendly, and they should ensure that everyone should get their due. If it is done, then trust me, we'll be able to create a holistic alternative to the existing model of existence. A holistic alternative which will ensure that every human being should get his or her due. Every human being should be able to lead a respectable life, and everyone should be able to prosper in a very happy and healthy way. So on this note, I wrap up this lecture hoping that you all will be able to think about the alternative, a holistic alternative, and how it can be created. Thank you so much. Have a great day.